The void above Terexus Prime shimmered with the dying light of 1,000 warships. Admiral Zixus of the Vorkath Armada watched from the bridge of his flagship, the Eclipse of Dawn, as the last defenders, a coalition of the galaxy's so-called warrior elites, crumpled under his artillery barrage. Their hulls split like overripe fruit, spilling plasma and corpses into the dark. Pathetic, Zixus rumbled, his triple-jointed fingers tightening around the armrest of his command throne. They call themselves warriors? They fight like children swinging sticks. His second-in-command, Subcommander Rel, inclined her spined head in agreement. The Galactic Council's finest lasted barely 3 cycles. The humans will be even less of a challenge. Zixus snorted. Humans? The fractured apes clinging to their mudball planet? They've barely mastered fusion. If the Council hadn't forbidden us from glassing their world out of cultural preservation, we'd have crushed them for sport by now. On the edge of contested space, the human colony New Arcadia spun lazily in its orbit, unaware of the storm approaching. Captain Elias Ross of the Dawn's Resolve, a rust bucket of patrol ship held together by grit and spare parts, scowled at the tactical feed. Another Vorkath fleet just wiped out the Keldari homeworld. They're getting closer. His first officer, Lieutenant Anya Kale, didn't look up from her console. EarthGov's still preaching neutrality. Not our war, they say. Her voice dripped with disgust. Elias clenched his jaw. Earth's politicians had spent decades arguing while alien empires burned. But New Arcadia had no defenses beyond a few aging railguns. He opened a channel to the colony's governor. "Ma'am, I recommend immediate evacuation." The governor's hologram flickered, her face drawn. "To where, Captain?" "The Vorkath hunt refugees for target practice." Before Elias could reply, the proximity alarm shrieked. Anya's hands flew across the controls. Contacts. Multiple slip-space ruptures. Asterisk, asterisk, it's the Vorkath. Asterisk, asterisk. Zixus hadn't even bothered to bring his full fleet. 3 destroyers, more than enough to erase a backwater human outpost. He lounged in his throne as the Eclipse S-guns charged. "Broadcast our terms," he ordered. "Surrender or be sterilized." The human governor's response crackled over the comms, her voice shaking but clear. "New Arcadia is a neutral colony. We have no part in your war." Zixus laughed. "War? This isn't a war. This is pest control." He gestured to his weapons officer. "Fire." Elias watched in horror as the first plasma volley struck New Arcadia's orbital dock, vaporizing hundreds in an instant. The colony's railguns returned fire, useless against Vorkath shields. "Anya, give me a firing solution on their lead ship's engines." She stared at him. "With what?" "Our pea-shooters." Elias bared his teeth. "We've got 1 nuke left in the hold. Rig it for remote detonation and slingshot it behind them with the cargo magnet." Anya's eyes widened. "That's stupid, desperate, and the only shot we've got. Do it." The Dawn's Resolve banked hard, skimming the destroyer shields as the nuke hurtled into the Eclipse S blind spot. The detonation wasn't enough to destroy the ship, but it cracked its armor like an egg. Zixus roared as alarms blared. "What hit us?" Rel checked the scans, her voice unnerved. "A kinetic impact. They use a nuclear warhead as a projectile." On the Dawn's Resolve, Elias didn't celebrate. The Vorkath destroyers were already turning, their guns locking on. "Anya, get us out of here. Asterisk, asterisk now. Asterisk, asterisk." The ship lurched into slipspace as the last transmission from New Arcadia played over the comms, the governor's final words before the colony vanished in fire. Asterisk, "Tell Earth they won't stop with us." Asterisk. Zixus seethed as his engineers assessed the damage. A human had dared strike his flagship. Worse, one of their pitiful ships had escaped with footage of the massacre. Rel hesitated. "The humans will see this. They'll..." Asterisk, asterisk, though what? Asterisk, asterisk, Zixus snarled. "They're ants. If they swarm, we burn their nest." But as the Eclipse limped away, the galaxy's most dangerous mistakes settled into place. The Vorkath had just woken something up, and it was hungry. The footage from New Arcadia spread like a virus. It flickered across refugee camps, smuggler dens, and the fractured remains of EarthGov's networks. Grainy, blood-streaked images of the Vorkath's plasma cannons carving through civilian habitats. The last transmission, the governor's plea, Asterisk tell Earth they won't stop with us, asterisk, echoed in the silence of 100 ship decks. On the ragged edge of the Cerberus belt, Admiral Cale Vera watched it loop for the third time. His fingers tapped a slow, dangerous rhythm against the armrest of his stolen warship, the Iron Psalm. Around him, the bridge crew, deserters, pirates, and idealists who'd given up on Earth's dithering, waited. EarthGov's response, he finally asked. His comms officer, Jax, spat to the side. Same as always. Diplomatic channels. Restraint. Meanwhile, the Vorkath are 3 jumps from Sol. Cale stood, his scarred face catching the dim light. Then we stopped asking. He tapped the holo display, pulling up a star chart littered with red markers. Vorkath supply depots, relay stations, weak points. They think we're insects? Fine. We'll be locusts. A murmur rippled through the crew. Lieutenant Mira, his tactical officer, frowned. Sir, even if every rogue ship in the sector joined us, we'd be outgunned 100 to 1. Cale's smile was a blade. Good thing we're not fighting a war. We're starting a plague. The Vorkath depot at Helios Reach was a sprawling monstrosity of black alloy and plasma forges, guarded by 2 destroyers and a swarm of drones. Standard doctrine said a direct assault was suicide. Cale had never cared for doctrine. The Iron Psalm lurked in the shadow of a gas giant, its engines cold. Beside it, 12 stolen freighters, outwardly derelict, their bellies packed with jury-rigged warheads, drifted toward the depot's sensor-blind spot. Remember, Cale murmured over the comms, we're not here to destroy it. We're here to make them scream. The first freighter detonated early, its fusion core overloading in a burst of light that blinded the depot's scanners. The second and third slammed into the drone swarms, their hulls rupturing into shrapnel storms. By the time the Vorkath realized it was a distraction, the Iron Psalm was already among them, firing not at the depot but at the fuel silos. The chain reaction tore Helios Reach apart from the inside, a fireball so bright it lit the gas giant's atmosphere for kilometers. Zixus felt the loss like a tremor in his bones. He stared at the tactical hollow in his war room, where Helios Reach's marker had dissolved into static. This was no accident, he growled. The humans targeted us. Sub-Commander Rel hesitated. Our scouts report the attackers were irregular. No standard military signatures. Just scavenged ships and... Asterisk, improvised weapons. Asterisk, Zixus finished, his voice dripping with disgust. They fight like vermin. Rel shifted uneasily. They fight like things that have spent millennia killing each other over scraps. Zixus backhanded her across the jaw, his claws drawing black blood. Find them. Burn their nests until they learn their place. Cale's fleet, if it could be called that, grew by the hour. Every strike on a Vorkath convoy, every ambush on a patrol, drew more ships to his banner. EarthGov defectors with stolen cruisers, mercenaries smelling blood in the water, even a Keldari survivor, a hulking, scarred warrior named Vorsk, who'd sworn vengeance for his annihilated homeworld. We can't keep this up, Mira warned as they reviewed the latest damage reports. The Iron Psalm, S hull was patched with scrap, its crew running on stims and spite. The Vorkath will adapt. Cale leaned over the star chart, his eyes tracing the Corvus Maw, a nebula thick with radiation and dead stars. Then we hit them where they can't follow. Vorsk rumbled a laugh. You want to lure them into a graveyard? No, Cale said softly. I want them to watch. The Vorkath armada arrived in force this time, 20 destroyers, led by Zixus himself. They found the Iron Psalm adrift at the Maw's edge, its engines dead, its hull scarred. A trap? Obviously. But Zixus had grown tired of games. All vessels target that ship, reduce it to atoms. The first volley never landed. From the nebula's heart, a moon-sized debris field, cloaked until now, surged forward, propelled by 100 salvage thrusters. The Vorkath scanners registered too late. The debris wasn't random. It was a wall of jagged hull fragments, each one a guided projectile. The Iron Psalm S engines flared to life, skimming the wave of shrapnel as it crashed into the Armada. Ships crumpled. Shields failed. Zixus howled as the Eclipse S bridge shuddered, a chunk of molten alloy shearing through its armor. On the Iron Psalm S bridge, Kale watched the chaos unfold. "Transmit this to every frequency," he ordered. "Let the galaxy see what happens when you push humans into a corner." Zixus staggered through the smoke of his crippled flagship, his armor cracked, his pride in tatters. The humans hadn't just wounded him. They'd humiliated him. Rel limped to his side, her voice hollow. "The Council is demanding answers. The other species, they're calling it a victory." Zixus clenched his fists. This wasn't war. This was heresy. And he knew, now, how to break them. "Set course for Sol," he snarled. "If they want a war of annihilation, we'll give them one." The Vorkath Armada emerged from slipspace like a storm of knives, their blackened hulls blotting out the sun over Mars. Admiral Kale Vera watched the tactical feed from the bridge of the Iron Psalm, his knuckles white around the armrest. They'd known this was coming. The Vorkath didn't just want victory. They wanted erasure. "EarthGov's finally done talking," Jax muttered, his fingers dancing across the console. "They've scrambled every ship in Sol. Even the old orbital defenses are online." Kale didn't answer. It wouldn't be enough. Zix's voice crackled over the comms, broadcast on every frequency, dripping with venom. "Asterisk humanity. You fought well for vermin, but this ends now. Surrender your leaders, and we will make your extinction quick." Asterisk. Kale leaned forward and opened a channel. "Zixus, you lost a third of your fleet to vermin. Imagine what happens when we stop holding back." Silence. Then laughter, deep mocking. Asterisk. "You have nothing left but desperation." Asterisk. Kale cut the transmission. "Mira, activate protocol, Ares." The bridge stilled. Even Vorsk, the Keldari warrior, stiffened. "That's suicide." Kale's smile was a bare, feral thing. "Only if it doesn't work." The Vorkath Armada advanced, their guns charging, their formations flawless. Earth's defenders braced, patrol ships, retrofitted freighters, the last remnants of a navy that had never been meant for war. Then the sky ripped open. From behind Saturn's rings, from the blind spots of Mercury's orbit, from the wreckage of the Luna shipyards, they came. Not warships. Not anything the Vorkath had ever seen. 1,000 asteroids, each one retrofitted with stolen Vorkath engines. Their surfaces studded with railguns, their cores packed with enough explosives to crack continents. Zix's tactical display flooded with warnings. "What?" The first wave struck like a meteor shower. The second came faster, guided by human pilots who'd welded themselves into control rigs, who screamed as they crashed into Vorkath hulls at relativistic speeds. The Eclipse shuddered as a moon fragment clipped its flank, tearing through decks like paper. Zixus roared, "Evasive maneuvers!" But there was no evading this. Kale watched the chaos unfold, his voice calm over the fleet-wide comms. "All ships, hammer them. Don't let up." The human fleet surged forward, not in formation, not with precision, but with rage. A salvaged EarthGov cruiser rammed the Vorkath destroyer mid-reload, its reactors overloading in a sun-bright explosion. A swarm of fighters, their hulls stripped of bare metal, latched onto enemy engines like parasites, detonating their payloads at point-blank range. Zix's perfect armada unraveled. On the Iron Psalm, S-Bridge, Mira exhaled sharply. "Sir, long-range scans show reinforcements. Galactic Council signatures." Kale's jaw tightened. Too late for mercy. But the Council wasn't here to fight. They were here to witness. The Vorkath flagship drifted, its hull breached, its weapons dead. Zixus clawed his way to the viewport, his blood staining the glass. Human boarding pods speared into the Eclipse S-flanks. He grabbed a plasma rifle, hissing at Rel, "Seal the bridge. We die on our feet." The doors blew open. Kale stepped through, flanked by Vorsk and a dozen battle-scarred Marines. His armor was scorched, one eye swollen shut, but his pulse rifle never wavered. Zixus bared his fangs. "You think this changes anything? Your kind will always be." Kale shot him in the throat. Zixus collapsed, choking on black blood. Kale crouched beside him, his voice low. We were never the victims here. We were the monsters you forgot to fear. The last thing Zixus saw was a human turning away, already barking orders, as the Galactic Council's emissaries begged for a ceasefire. The message spread across the stars within hours. Footage of the Battle of Sol, of the Vorkath armada shattered, of Zixus' corpse sprawled on his own bridge. The galaxy had watched humanity fight. Now they understood. Humans didn't win wars. They rewrote them. The silence in the aftermath of battle was deafening. Kale Vera stood on the observation deck of the Iron Psalm, staring at the graveyard of twisted metal that had once been the Vorkath armada. The wreckage glinted in Sol's pale light, a monument to human defiance. Behind him, Mira exhaled, her voice barely above a whisper. We won. Kale didn't answer. Winning was easy. Surviving what came next, that was the real war. The Galactic Council's emissary ship, a sleek silver blade against the stars, docked with the Iron Psalm without fanfare. Senator Valus, a towering amphibious diplomat from the once neutral Ithari Concord, stepped onto the deck, her gilded robe shimmering. Her eyes, black, unblinking, scanned the scorch marks on the bulkheads before settling on Kale. You have butchered the Vorkath, she said, her voice devoid of inflection. And in doing so, you have rewritten the rules of war. Kale crossed his arms. They gave us no choice. Valus tilted her head. Choice is irrelevant. What matters is what you do now. A hologram flickered between them. A star map dotted with the emblems of a dozen alien empires. The Vorkath were a scourge, but they were also a balance, she continued. Without them, the galaxy is unstable. Factions are already mobilizing to fill the void. Jack snorted. So what? You want us to play peacekeepers? Valus' gaze didn't waver. I want you to decide what humanity will be. Conquerors? Guardians? A pause? Or something worse? The debate raged for days. EarthGov, suddenly bold in victory, demanded a seat on the council. The Keldari survivors, led by Vorsk, pledged their blades to Kale's cause. The mercenaries and defectors who had followed him this far waited, restless, for their next fight. And Kale? He stood in the ruins of the Luna shipyards, staring at a half-built Titan-class dreadnoughts Earth had abandoned decades ago. Monstrous things, designed for a war that had never come. Until now, Mira found him there, her boots crunching on broken glass. You're thinking about finishing them. Kale ran a hand along the dreadnought's hull. We bled to survive. Now we have to make sure it wasn't for nothing. She hesitated. Valus is right. If we take power, we become what we fought. Kale turned, his eyes hard. No, we become what the galaxy needs. The summons came at midnight. A Vorkath distress signal, faint but unmistakable, pulsing from the edge of the KRYLL expanse. Not a warship. A colony vessel, unarmed, carrying civilians. Vorsk snarled when he heard. A trick. Kale watched the signal flicker on the holo display. Maybe, but if it's not... Myra's voice was quiet. We're not executioners. Kale made his decision. Plot a course. Let's see what's left of them. The colony ship was a wreck, its hull pitted by micrometeorites, its engines dead. Scans showed life signs, weak, fading. The boarding party found them in the atrium. Vorkath younglings, their carapaces still soft, huddled around the corpse of their last guardian. One looked up as Kale entered, its faceted eyes wide with fear. Jax shifted uncomfortably. They're just kids. Kale knelt, ignoring the way his armor creaked. The youngling flinched but didn't run. Slowly, he reached into his belt and tossed a ration bar. The youngling sniffed it, then devoured it in seconds. Myra's voice was soft. What now? Kale stood. Now we show the galaxy what humanity really is. He turned to the comms officer. Open a channel to the council. Tell them we're bringing the survivors home. The message spread faster than the battle footage had. Humans sparing their enemies. The galaxy didn't know what to make of it. But as Kale stood on the bridge of the Iron Psalm, watching the Vorkath younglings sleep under guarded watch, he allowed himself a grim smile. Let them wonder. Let them fear. Let them learn. The Galactic Council chambers had never seen a human before. Kale Vero walked to the vaulted archway, his boots echoing on the iridescent floor. The air hummed with the whispers of 100 alien species, their faceted eyes, tendrils, and chitinous limbs shifting in the dim light. At the center of the chamber, suspended above a pool of liquid mercury, hovered the high seat, occupied today by Senator Valus. "You are late, Admiral," she said, her voice resonating through the chamber. Kale didn't apologize. Had to make sure my ship wasn't boarded on the way here. A ripple of unease passed through the assembled delegates. Valus gestured to the empty space before her. "You stand before the council as neither conqueror nor supplicant. What do you want?" Kale's gaze swept the room. "The Vorkath are broken. Their colonies are starving. Their survivors are scattered. And you—" he pointed at a hulking reptilian delegate, then a slender bioluminescent one, "are already carving up their territories." The reptilian delegate, Garx of the Draxian hegemony, hissed, "This is the way of things. The strong rise. The weak fall." Kale smiled. It wasn't a pleasant expression. "Then you won't mind when humanity does the same." Silence. Valus leaned forward. "Is that a threat?" "No," Kale said. "It's a choice. You can let the galaxy burn in another war, or you can accept a new order." He activated the holo display on his wrist. A star map flared to life, showing the Vorkath territories, and a single human sigil superimposed over them. "We'll take stewardship of their worlds, not as rulers, as guardians." Garx's claws flexed. "And if we refuse?" Kale didn't blink. "Try us." The debate raged for hours. Kale stood motionless through it all, his face unreadable. Outside the chamber, Mira and Vorsk waited, armed and alert. "This is a mistake," Vorsk rumbled. "They will never accept our terms." Mira checked her sidearm. "They will, because the alternative is finding out what happens when humans stop being polite." Inside, the verdict came. Valus rose. "The Council concedes to humanity's request. Provisional governance of the Vorkath territories will be granted under oversight." Kale inclined his head. "Wise." Garx snarled. "Do not think this is over human. The Draxian hegemony does not forget." Kale turned to leave. Over his shoulder, he said, "Good. Neither do we." The first human outpost on the edge of former Vorkath space was a ramshackle thing, built from salvaged warships and asteroid ore. But it was theirs. Kale stood on the observation deck, watching a group of Vorkath younglings, now under care of human and Keldari medics, play in the hydroponic gardens. One of them, the same who had taken his ration bar weeks ago, scurried up to him and pressed a small, carved stone into his hand. Jax raised an eyebrow. "Think it's a peace offering?" Kale pocketed the stone. "It's a start." A proximity alert blared. Myra's voice crackled over the comms. "Kale, we got incoming. Unidentified fleet, emerging from slip space." Kale was already moving. "Vorkath." "Negative. Scans match Draxian signatures." Of course. Garx had moved faster than expected. Kale strode onto the bridge, his voice calm. "Shields up. Arm all batteries. But do not fire unless fired upon." The Draxian fleet loomed on the view screen, their jagged ships bristling with weapons. A transmission came through. Garx's scale face filled the screen. "Human, you overreach. These territories are not yours." Kale crossed his arms. "They're not yours either." Garx's tongue flicked out. "We shall see." The Draxian ships powered their weapons. Kale didn't flinch. "Last chance, Garx." "Walk away." The Draxian laughed. "Or what?" Kale's smile was icy. "Or you'll learn why the Vorkath called us war gods." The first Draxian salvo never landed. From the shadow of the system's gas giant, a new fleet emerged. Asterisk, asterisk, Keldari warships, asterisk, asterisk. Their hulls still scarred from their own genocide, flanked by a dozen retrofitted human cruisers. And behind them, gliding forward like a specter, was the first completed Titan-class dreadnought, its massive railguns humming with power. Garx's eyes widened. Kale opened a fleet-wide channel. "You wanted a fight? You'll get one." But I promise you this. If you fire, none of you will leave this system alive. A beat of silence. Then, with a snarl, Garx cut the transmission. The Draxian fleet turned and vanished into slipspace. Mira exhaled. They'll be back. Kale watched the stars. I know. But for now, the message was sent. Humanity had arrived, and the galaxy would never be the same.